Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Write, Shoot, Release, Repeat, kind of an interview series I'm doing with fellow filmmakers, emerging filmmakers, all sorts of creatives and everything. Just kind of rapping in a kind of casual style about where the state of creativity is at, where the state of the arts are at, and kind of moving forward, how to be the best creative you can be. So this is episode two. I have two guests with me today. They're both kind of buddies of mine, and I want to introduce you guys to them. Speaking of guys, I do want to have a disclaimer. I want everyone to know that I did invite a couple female filmmakers I know to this meeting, and they were either previously occupied or just not interested, I guess. But so I wasn't trying to make this a cinematic sausage party, but it is what it is. So there we go. Anyway, first of all, I want to introduce Mike Watt. Mike and I go back to, as I was saying, like 1990 or so in high school. We went to neighboring high schools, but we had mutual friends and we got to know each other a little bit. And we were both kind of in the horror scene, both of us in the films and all that kind of stuff. And so we kind of cleaved pretty immediately. And then obviously we've had a continuing kind of dialogue that's come and gone, and gone through down phases and absences, and then social media kind of helped reignite and get us chatting again. So from reading from Mike's bio, Mike Watt is a writer, journalist, and screenwriter. He has written for such publications as Fangoria, Film Threat, The Dark Side, the late Frederick Clark's Cinefantastique, Femme Fatales, and served as an editor for the RAK Media Group's Resurrection of Sirens of Cinema. Through his production company, Happy Cloud Pictures, he has written and produced or directed the award-winning feature film The Resurrection Game, as well as Splatter Movie, A Director's Cut, Feast of Flesh, Demon Divas, and Lanes of Damnation, and the award-winning Razor Days. In 2017, he edited the 40th anniversary printing of Paul Schrader's Taxi Driver screenplay, featuring a new interview with Robert De Niro, published in 2018 by Gauntlet Press. He's the author of the short fiction collection Phobophobia, the novels The Resurrection Game and The Suicide Machine, and from McFarlane Publishing, Fervid Filmmaking, 66 Cult Pictures of Vision, Verve, and No Self-Restraint. In 2014, he launched the acclaimed Movie Outlaw book series focusing on underseen cinema, which features a article on a small film called House of Bad, which some dude from Pittsburgh made. And he is currently the editor-in-chief of the magazine Exploitation Nation, which does deep dives into all manner of pop culture with a special focus on independent filmmaking and artists. Mike Watt. Woohoo!
All right, that was wrong. You should have just said he did some shit. Now we're going to talk tonight.
He did some, yeah, he's a guy that he does things. We got to get your creds up at the top of this. So below me, you're going to see Brian Dzyak. It's pronounced Dzyak, even though it's spelled D-Z-Y-A-K. He began his career as an editor, videographer, and producer at WBGU TV 27 in Ohio. So he's also a guy from back east like you and me, Mike. And since has shot Top Fuel dragsters, classical music concerts, movie premieres, and just about everything in between. As a motion picture camera assistant for over a decade, his resume includes films like Titanic, Broken Arrow, Murder in the First, Star Trek Generations, and Pirates of the Caribbean. His television credits include such popular shows as NYPD Blue, The X-Files, Star Trek Enterprise, Star Trek Voyager, Strong Medicine, The West Wing, Charmed, and Tales from the Crypt. As a behind-the-scenes EPK, electronic press kit, cameraman, some of the bigger projects he's been part of are the Fast and Furious and Bourne franchises, and there's a host of others along the way. Brian Dzyak, here we go. If nobody is familiar with your host here, I'll just do mine very quickly. I'm Jim Towns. I'm a writer and director. I'm also a published author. I am originally from Pittsburgh, PA, just like Mike, but I've been out in LA for just coming up on 20 years at the moment. This November, I've directed the films House of Bad, The End Times, The Beast Inside, Killer X, and I'm the director of the upcoming films Mandromeda and also Mercy. My books include, oh boy, which ones do they include? It's American Cryptic, which is a nonfiction book about kind of ghost stories and myth and legends from the Western PA area, and the novels Bloodsucker City and Braddock's Falls. So there we go. That's me. Moving on from there. Geez, that's enough of that. This is a cordial evening, everybody, and so if you're watching, feel free to join along. Brian has a nice red wine with him. Cheers. And then my current beverage of choice is Writer's Tears, which is a Irish whiskey, which has quite a bit of bite to it. And I'm going to get in there with this too. So this is going to become a spirited conversation. Terrible,
I
terrible,
don't
terrible,
drink
terrible.
it now, so I would. Well,
Okay, fair enough. All right. Uh, so just to start off, I'm gonna go Mike and then Brian, and we'll circle around kind of clockwise on my screen that way. Mike, talk a little bit about what led you to decide to get into filmmaking as a discipline, and the kind of steps that led to it. Just a bit. Give us a brief.
well, like most male didn't excel at sports. It was pretty much either the arts or rent boy. I think that was my other choice in careers at that point. So I stubbornly went into the arts. I'd always wanted to be a screenwriter. I became a director sort of out of hunger. My wife, Amy Lynn Best, is always been my co-director on everything. She's much better with people than I am. Because I like to hang out with the guys and say, yeah, put that light higher. That effect looks good. You know, the actor thing, they need empathy, and I'm very rarely the guy to do that. But um, just as you answered me yesterday, what keeps you hustling? It was just sheer determination and desperation. I think is the word you used, and I feel that a lot. It's just I don't know. I literally don't have any other skills. Might as well. And then, to tell the truth, we haven't done a lot of filmmaking in a long time. Our big film, our expensive film, our film with somebody else's money, hit just as the home video market collapsed. The DVD market in 20 what was 2013, 2014, when it just that's when we had finished, and three of the like our whole time diehard producers or distributors were like, we're not accepting stuff anymore. Uh, and it took a long time to recoup any money from that. It was demoralizing, spending a lot of money and a lot of time to produce, to basically recreate this reality, and couldn't get rid of it.
Which film
Didn't
was
it,
that?
That's Razor Days.
That's Razor Days, right? Okay. Get in the timeline. Yeah, pop
This
it
was
up. There you go.
and we're really proud of it. We were mostly known for lighthearted horror, splatter comedies, that sort of thing. This was a straight thriller, and a straight drama in a lot of ways, and it hurt.
Yeah.
It really hurt to see it go nowhere, and to see people that we had worked with forever suddenly losing their asses on things. And I'm like, some of them have recovered, some of them haven't. So Happy Cloud Pictures, we went almost directly into publishing after that, and that's really been our concentration. And what's nice about the horror industry is it's a longevity game. It really is a long con. You stick around long enough, you become legendary.
Hmm.
So a lot of our stuff now is being revisited by these boutique labels. They just brought out, I don't have it with me, but they just brought out Amy's directorial debut was Severe Injuries, which was a comedy, and Vinegar Syndrome sold out, which they made more money off of that than we've ever had in our entire lives off of that film. So that has spurred some renewed interest in us as OGs or whatever the thing is. But I can't tell you that it's been a breeze, and I can't tell you that we really. If parts of us miss it, but I don't have the energy for it anymore. You're rattling off your features. I haven't done anything since 2014 just because I don't. What do I do with it? You know?
No, and that's a good little side thing to discuss the longevity of a career over decades, right? I think, I talk a lot about the whatever is American Star or whatever the music thing was where someone just like, comes outside, sings a song on stage and is instantly a celebrity. And I think that's too much the public's conceit of the what a career in the arts is like. Um, and I've met almost nobody that's ever happened to. I've met people that got a little bump for something, but then after that, it was just we talked about all about the hustle. It was just all about keeping this going. And I think I said in the last episode, I was talking to someone else about he's saying like people coming up to me saying, "Hey, man, you're busy. You're doing a lot of things." And he's like, "The minute I stop hustling, all this goes away. Like no one's banging on my door. It's because I'm out there doing it." And I think, but your pivot to publishing is such a it's very similar to what I did, because I did a film called State of Desolation in 20 we shot in 2014, and that film just came out as End Times last year. So it took 10 years to come out. And when you're out there pitching movies and your last film never came out, basically after like 6 or 7 years, people are hesitant to give you money because they're like, well, is this film going to come out? Like, I mean, what's your last, you're only as good as your last, whatever. And that's when I got into writing and got into fiction and everything, because I didn't need a crew. I didn't need location permits. I didn't need any of that stuff. I could just sit in my house and do that. And to except for the sweat equity, it was basically like a zero budget kind of enterprise. And that is what kept me going through that kind of darker time until things started popping again in like 20 something with and I started working again. It was like 4 or 5 years there where I just I wasn't really doing much. Um, so I think that's an important thing to kind of people who are entering the biz or considering entering the biz is the idea that you're going to have swell times and you're going to have not so swell times, and I don't know of anybody who hasn't had that. And then the industry itself, like you can make a great movie. Let's reference Razor Days. You can make a great movie, but the vagaries of culture and technology and whatever like that, or pandemics or whatever, can conspire to, like, it can just come out in the wrong time, and that will kill you. It has nothing to do with lack of talent or lack of vision or lack of effort on anyone's part. It's just sometimes bad luck. I know a guy who or I know a guy's parents, actually, weirdly, who's a director who did I Know Who Killed Me, the Lindsay Lohan kind of thriller movie, right? Which I haven't seen, but like it seems like it was probably a perfectly good film, but it came out just as all her bad whatever press shit was happening, and that it killed the movie. The movie just died a horrible death through no fault of its own. It just came out in a in a moment of bad press for its lead actor, and that's just all that kind of takes. Cool, man. Brian, let's we've given everyone your bio, so but what's your origin story? Let's have that.
What, the long version or the short
The
version? The
semi-short. You don't have to,
semi-short.
it's not the
Like I
five
think a
paragraph
lot of,
essay version.
everyone in my age group, I think we all grew up on Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Like those are the things that really ignite. I mean, I was interested in drawing and telling stories and things before that. But the idea of a movie, being in the movie business like that was a thing. So, but coming from Ohio, this is all pre-internet, pre-cell phones, pre-everything. So the only things we learned about the business were through some random books or novels or something or things we heard or magazine articles and things. So I really honestly didn't know. I never focused like some people did. Like, I'm going to be a director. I'm going to be a whatever. I just knew wanted to be in the movie business, and I didn't focus on anything because I didn't know anything. So when I was always to keep it short, but my first memory of a camera was my dad's uncle. There was a family reunion in Pennsylvania and outside Pittsburgh in Monessen, which you may not be familiar with. Um,
Never been
he
there.
had one of the first video cameras for home, and I remember I don't know how old I was. I must have been 7, 8, 9, maybe somewhere there. I grabbed that thing. I still have the tape. I grabbed it and I took it the whole day. I was shooting, shooting. Like for whatever reason, I took that camera and I made it mine that day. So that was really my first
What kind of
time I
camera was
remember
it?
having it was some old video camera. It was like a home video
It's actually
camera
home
of
video.
some
Okay,
kind.
okay, great.
Yeah, I don't know what model. I took it and I just had a ball with it all day long. And then, I just looked for opportunities like that. I had friends who their dads got video cameras at home and I played with those and stuff. I found my dad's 8 millimeter camera, not Super 8 millimeter that he used in the Navy. This is when you could go buy film at the drugstore, and I loaded that up and I shot some stuff on my own, not knowing at all what I was doing. So I was always just gravitating this. So then I eventually went to school and I wanted to go to USC only because George Lucas went there and that was where the film school was to somebody in Ohio. But that was way out of the price range. So I stayed home, went to Bowling Green, and there was a PBS station attached to it, WBGU TV. And honestly, I feel like I spent more time there than at school doing TV things because the film department at that time in 87 to 92 was it was a Super 8 camera, some broken 16 millimeter cameras. Nobody knew what they were
Oh yeah.
doing.
Mm.
So my whole media, real professional training was at that TV station where I learned to edit. It was before nonlinear. We were doing tape. It was all
Crash
you messed
edits.
up. You went back and started at the beginning. I learned how to shoot video on tube cameras. So learned. They wanted me to do some studio stuff like switching and live. I had no interest in that. I wanted to do like film style out in the field. So I spent most of my time just doing that. And then once I graduated, I packed up and moved out to Los Angeles. We had made a feature, a small group of us in friends. We made a Super 8 feature at the time, um, edited it on 1 inch tape. But it wasn't very good for a lot of reasons. I was in charge of shooting it. I didn't know what I was doing. Super 8 film. Anybody who shot it knows you have like a half a stopper range on either side. I wasn't good. Like if I could go back
Unforgiving.
now, oh my God, it would be
Yeah.
so totally different. But at the time, it was okay. It wasn't certainly nothing you could sell now. But they gave us some experience in doing a feature. Then I moved out here and just jumped in and PA'd on some stuff and found my way on some UCLA films, free stuff, and where I just started meeting people slowly, slowly. A couple of them were union guys. They got me into some bigger shows. My real entry into professional world was as a loader on Murder in the First in '94, I think it was. That was started as a Warner Brothers show, started non-union, and 6 weeks in, can't remember how long it was. Um, it turned union. So that's how I got my union card. From that opened a bunch of doors. So suddenly I was on working on a lot of big movies as a loader, camera assistant, doing stuff. And I did that for about a dozen years. Um, Meanwhile, all the while I was keeping my hand in video, doing like press junkets, some corporate stuff and things like that. So around 2002 or so, a buddy of mine had gotten hired by this company called New Wave Entertainment in Burbank, and this is when the DVD market was heating up. Like all of a sudden, all this home video stuff was coming up, and they wanted to do all these old titles and do new releases with new interviews and stuff. And I had a union card. I knew my way around a movie set, and I knew how to shoot video. It was like the perfect storm for me to make the transition into marketing stuff. So I did a couple more weeks on Star Trek something at Paramount as an assistant and quit that and just started shooting behind the scenes after that. And then took me around the world and I met a lot of great people and da 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 da. Anyway, so that's that's the short-ish version of my origin. Sort
Short-ish. So you've loaded, so you've basically worked in the film world, the actual film.
definitely.
And Mike, your first feature, Resurrection Game, was shot on 16, right?
Yes, I was actually a loader on a low budget softcore porn movie called Gladiator Eroticus. So I have that experience in my field as
On
well.
your CV. Um,
Yeah,
cool.
I do want to say
I never want to.
good.
Sorry, Mike. Okay, Brian.
I was going to say on my way out the door. So when I when I moved, I just graduated college, summer of '91, and um, I knew like the names of two people who lived out in LA here,
Mhm.
and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to get a job. I didn't know. I just knew I needed to be out there. So it was a blizzard. It was the end last week of January, and there had been a blizzard the night before, and my car was packed up. And I remember looking out the window. My mom and dad are like staring at me, and my dad says, "I think you should wait, maybe." And I go, "No, I just gotta go."
Yeah.
My mom says, waiting for good advice or whatever, and she just looks at me and she goes, "Do what you need to do. no porn. That was it. So
Did you mean in
sorry for
front of the camera or behind?
either.
Either. Well, there you
Yes.
go. Uh, that's interesting because my I won't go into my origin story. I think my origin story is well known, but I started out as an artist. I went to school for art, and I tried to do comics, and I showed in some galleries, and I did odd stuff like that when I moved back to Pittsburgh, and I worked in New York for a while. But I didn't get really into filmmaking. Was like my fallback actually after I kind of crashed and burned in comics. Um, and so by the time I got in because digital video got to the point where like you could actually do 24, well, 23, 97, whatever frames a second, and non-linear editing. So like that was actually the reason I got in was was because it'd become easy enough to do what I wanted to do on that, and I didn't have the financial burden of trying to buy film and shoot on film and lighting for film and all the other stuff. So that's just interesting. It's funny how every career actually has sort of a similar circle, right? Or circuit. There's little variances between it, but to some degree. Uh, so getting into the next thing here, I want you guys to talk about being creative for a living in this era. Um, Creativity in dystopia, I guess we could call this section. Um, and I don't, if somebody doesn't agree with what I'm saying, I don't care less. This is my channel and whatever. Watch something else. The world's gone crazy. Our country's insane. It's being controlled by insane people. 2025 feels like you're on the Titanic and it's going down and half the passengers are cheering as it sinks. It's just unconscionably mad and it's unrelenting in the news every day, everything. And it doesn't seem like it had to be this way, but it's this way, and that's just what it is. Um, None of us are, the three of us are, sorry, important people. We're people. We don't have the ear of anyone, who can change it. And I don't know who is able to change this at this point or wants to. So what we're left with is the ability to do what we do. In after November, I know I posted something saying like I'm just going to be as creative as possible throughout the next few years. I'm going to create as much wonderful stuff as I can, as much weird stuff as I can. I hope some of my stuff unsettles people that should be unsettled by things. That this is what I do, and this is my creativity is my weapon, and I'm going to use my creativity as much as I can. So I have I just did a feature called Mercy, which we just shot. We're editing now, which is a kind of a dystopian sci-fi thing about a world where Americans don't have many rights, gay people don't have many rights, women don't have many rights, books are banned, things like that. So I mean, our joke was like, let's make this film and get it out before it's not science fiction anymore, right? Because it's like 5 minutes in the future. Jeez. Anyway, um, but that's what I can do. And I had someone say to me like, look, you could talking to me personally, like I could post on social media as much as I want, and it'll reach X amount of people, 200 people, maybe I don't know, whatever. If I do a film and kind of couch it in what I believe in and what I worry about and all those things, it has the potential at least to get out to a much wider audience, and maybe that's the best use of my time and my voice. And that's just my choice, and that's how I'm approaching this thing. Um, but I want to talk to each of you guys who are both, I know personally, are on the right side of history, let's just say, morally. Um, Starting with Mike and then into Brian. Um, does your creative how hard is it to maintain a creative output in this state we're in? Um, And then how does that output help you deal with all the bad things going on and that you hear about? Mike, go ahead.
Um, as I actually I have like a ton of high school stories that I remember from hanging out with the group where we would talk about this country needs a plague that only hits stupid people. Who knew that it came with its own immunity? You know, literally
Right.
the people who were die didn't, and that's a big thing that we're left with. I've always been sort of politically cynical. The movie we shot on film, we finished in 2001. It's a zombie film about 20 minutes into the future where the zombies have already taken over and everyone's just trying to get on with their lives. They're walk around the zombies. They're Romero zombies, so you can just tip them over. But that's we were boiling frogs then in 2001. So I don't have anything new to say in terms of humanity being adaptable animals to any kind of horrific activity. Um, all I've ever done is try to keep my I don't keep my head down. My mouth is too big. But I've tried to counter a lot of my own negativity with trying to be positive on other people's accounts. You have something coming up, I'd happily share that rather than slap illiterate idiots down all day long. I'm 52 years old. I feel like I've been 52 my entire life. So, so it's always a way. Everything that I do is either out of self comfort or just sheer spite. I started Exploitation Nation because I hated um, I started publishing because I was getting rejection slips left and right. We went into indie filmmaking because we were getting rejected by real jobs. Everything I've done has been in spite of either the odds or rationality. So I don't. I spent a lot of the post COVID time in therapy, and I've learned that a lot of things that I've just figured hyper moron is neurodiversity. Suddenly, I have this excess amount of empathy because I'm neurodivergent, and well, that doesn't do me any good. I just have a new name for what makes me pissed, So I honestly, have any. I don't have any words for the future. All we can do as individuals is keep moving forward, and if we see somebody in trouble, we help them. That's all I've ever done. If you have a MAGA hat and you have a flat tire, I'm sorry, I'm going to drive past you. But you're not wearing the hat, and you're struggling with groceries. You haven't identified yourself as a Nazi. I'm going to hold your door. I guess I don't have any better solutions. Yeah.
So how does the time you spend creating, right, with all the various things you have going on, um, does that serve as is it equal parts distraction and therapy or more one or the other?
It honestly, it depends what I'm doing. Um, Everything I write addresses, for some reason, religion, politics, and profanity. So the three things I'm always sort of hammering around. Um, I could never like strictly distract myself because when I wasn't making movies, or if I didn't have a full time job in the mainstream, I worked as a journalist. And sometimes it was entertainment, sometimes it was hard journalism. So I could never divorce myself from any of this. Especially when I lost my job. Okay, I'll go be a stringer for one of the free papers for a while. That's what kept me going. When the newspapers dried up, I started teaching, and then the outside world was always having to be addressed there because filmmaking is capturing the now in whatever format it is. So I don't know that creativity is for me is just a way of moving forward, and it's just having another project to do. So, all right, now I have this magazine that I have to get done. I have this book of River Phoenix I have to get done. I have this I have to get done. It doesn't feel like creativity. It just feels like working. And sometimes that's all I have. You know.
Yeah, good, good. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I see online your output and the amount of balls you're juggling, and um, there's a relentlessness to what your drive, which is great, but there's a relative cohesiveness to it. It all, you're not bing, 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 bing. Yeah, if you came out
I'm
saying like,
trying.
yeah, I'm writing a tell-all book about, I don't know, some reality star or something like that, I would be very surprised by that. You still managed to, for being like a gig hire guy a lot, you still managed to pick gigs that seem to, flow with what it is you do, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So yeah. Cool, man. Brian,
Really.
uh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
You had
Uh, you're on it. I think it's the time zone difference between California and Pennsylvania where you're on this like millisecond delay. Um, Brian, same question. Is the I mean, there's the work, right? I mean, there's the work where you're like you're paying your rent. I mean, you're actually like, like Mike was saying, like you're actually just making a living doing this. This is how we've figured out a way to make a living for all of us, and we just have to. There's a hustle quality to it. But yeah, it like distraction versus what was I saying to Mike is just distraction versus therapy. Like where do you land here with like your whatever you're currently doing at any given moment?
Well, it's kind of a big question for I as I was listening
Yeah.
to Mike talk about it and you talk about it, I was thinking back and you know, like I said, as I began, back in Ohio, I just had this general interest in storytelling. I was always a writer, as simple as it was in English class or whatever I did on the side. I would draw, I would pick up the camera and take picture stills and things. I was never very focused on what it is exactly I wanted to do for a living. And it's just a really weird business because, like I said, the best way to describe it is when I was at the TV station that I worked at, that I got my training in, there's a big difference between working in an environment like that and Hollywood. So in the TV station environment, what I did most was take a camera out and do shows and shoots and things. And as the camera person, even here in marketing and things, you're not just the camera person. You are also the director. You're deciding the shots. You are shooting for the edit. You're doing a lot of those things. Um, when I was doing that in Ohio, I was enjoying that, but I hadn't separated the jobs out into specialties the way Hollywood demands you do that.
Hmm.
So when I arrived in Hollywood, I won't go into all the details, but I mistakenly landed in the camera world because I had equated directing and creativity in a bigger picture with camera. So that led me to a dozen years pushing carts around and handing lenses to people and loading film when that wasn't really what I wanted to be doing. But it paid the bills. I had kids. That helped put them through schools and then the behind the scenes work, that transition also. Um, the point of all this is that all of that was kind of distracting me from the thing I should have been doing all along, writing screenplays, working on that directing career, doing all those things. I had a sort of a turning point when COVID hit. So when was that? 5 years ago? I was like 50 at that time. My dad had just passed away. And we're suddenly, I had always marked time through my career from what I had been working on and where I was in the world.
Hmm.
Um, Suddenly, we're at home and there are no jobs to go to. There's nothing and realize how much I defined my life and myself by where I was and what I was working on for other people. So I realized after my dad passed away that I had about 30 years left if I lived as long as he did. And how did I want to go out? Did I really want to keep doing this stuff that I really didn't, I didn't come out to Hollywood to shoot behind the scenes for other people's movies. I didn't come out to like load film for other people's movies. I didn't know that at the time, but it took going through it to realize, duh, you idiot. I should have. There was a lot of time I kind of feel like I wasted. So during COVID, I put a lot of work in. I've got this scrolling. There's a bunch of the projects that I've either written or I'm working on or want to be working on or whatever. I started just really digging into writing and trying to get an agent and trying to get things sold and everything everybody always does. I made a trailer for one of the movies that I'm trying to get done. I haven't found financing for that. My kid's aging out. And then you've got the politics on top of it. And then you've got lack of money coming in. That was a huge distraction. That was a really, really difficult, to get to your question, to stay creative when there's pressure and there's financial pressure to pay rents. You don't have money coming in. You don't. It's really difficult to like go, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills, or I'm getting calls from credit card companies, but I'm going to sit down and write this screenplay. Like that's really impossible. It's very difficult to just go, okay, I'm going to shift into that gear and just be creative on this thing that may never get seen by anybody. You're thinking practically at that point, like how am I going to survive, much less maybe I'll write this thing that maybe someone will see, that maybe I'll eventually get it sold. And so, um, and at that time during COVID is when that first Trump administration came in, and I had, as a distraction method, I think, I threw myself into politics. I threw myself into trying to convince people of facts and things, and I was really focused on that while I was also trying to write a couple of things. And I realized after that election that I can't change people's minds online. Like it was a epiphany that I wasted a lot of time. I was writing and it was good. It wasn't, I was learning and I was writing, and it wasn't all for naught. But so when this time came around, I made this decision. I shut off most of the politics. I don't watch news anymore. No network news, no local news. I'll catch some things online or podcasts and things like that. But really to help me focus, to like wake up, instead of turning the news on in the morning, I will get up and look at my social media quickly, but then I will work on some of these things. I have a screenplays going. I've got an immersion project that I'm looking for financing for. I've become way more productive in the last couple of years than I was during that COVID era. And it's certainly before that, when I was having fun going around the world shooting Fast and
Yeah.
Furious and all these other things. It was a great time, and I won't and put my kids through school. I made a lot of money, but I wasn't doing the thing I wanted to be doing. So I'm trying to all those distractions. I'm trying to push aside and really focus on what I need to do for the last 20, 30 years of my life. So, and it's not easy, when when you've got to pay bills and there's no money coming in, it's really, really difficult. But um, I think to answer the question directly, now that I've wasted all the time, I this is a new world. Look, Hollywood's falling apart. It really is. We're getting traditional Hollywood is getting their asses kicked by TikTok and YouTube specifically at this point. Number three in line after that is immersion. Gaming is huge. VR and immersive projects. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but that number three is slated to rise in the next like 5 years by billions of dollars. So what I made the conscious decision to do was, while I'm still writing a couple screenplays, which I'll get into maybe, but I threw a lot of energy into this immersion thing, because I really believe that more people, I have a better chance at getting a $60 million investment that I need to put the immersion thing into like built, than I do any of my screenplays in Hollywood right now. Hollywood is looking at IPs. Even the established guys are having trouble getting things made. The only other option is to make really cheap stuff that goes to Amazon or whatever and gets lost in the crowd. And then, I'm probably still not making much money, right? So, at my age, I don't have time to wait and build a long career of low budget horror movies and things like I just don't. So it's the gold rush. I'm going for a big play. I'm trying to get this investment going. And it just looking at the realities of the business right now, AI is going to take a lot of jobs. AI is a tool that will help people like me get projects off the ground. It's also going to take jobs from people. It just is. It already is. There's no putting that toothpaste back in the tube.
Mm.
So just the whole world's changed since I came out. I was out here in '92. Everything is. I wrote this book, by the way. This book was about how to what a typical day in the life is for somebody working on a movie set. And I wrote this back early 2000s. I don't know that I wouldn't feel um, responsible encouraging anyone to get into this business today in this way. Um, there will probably still be filmmaking, traditional, but to build a career with it after tax incentives, AI, just the economy in general, I don't think anybody knows where this is going. So, I think if you want to build, like you said, to build a career and build slowly or, play the long game, you really got to look at where the money is going. And right now, Hollywood is not it. And I don't know, I wouldn't even know where to tell somebody to move today if they were just coming out of school. London, Budapest, it certainly wouldn't be here. So, I think at our age, it's a matter of just keep plowing forward. But if you want to make a living, filmmaking probably isn't it at the moment. Maybe I'll come back, but not like it was, not like when I started. Um, so distraction wise, to your question, just try to keep your expenses as low as possible so you don't have that pressure every month to have to have to pay $2,000, $5,000 a month or whatever it is. The lower that financial pressure, the less emotional strain you're going to have, and then the more energy you can put into whatever thing it is that you're going to try to, whatever art you're trying to turn into a career,
All right, that's all the time we have, everybody. Thanks very much. I'm kidding.
Yeah, sorry.
We'll just end on that note. Yeah,
It's
yeah, no,
it's
no. I mean,
it's like
I hear everything you're saying. You know, and I've talked about some a few other the things I've been recording and releasing and stuff lately, just about especially on the indie side, but in any kind of gig thing, it's feast or famine. Um, sometimes you make a good payday, and then there can be those gaps. I'm lucky in that I have a wife who has a good job too, and makes a regular income, so that when I go through these, I not to whatever. Like I got a payday towards the end of last year. There was a decent one for one of the films, and then I went like 3 months without anything, with nothing coming in, with no, like, because I do other little gigs and stuff too, and I work on some documentary series and stuff with my friend Will, and we have a few things going there and stuff. So I don't just do the features, even though I don't tend to promote some of the other stuff, but I do other stuff too because that's just part of making a living. But I did have like a gap there, and so luckily, like, I do have a partner that can earn in the meantime until the next thing comes in and stuff, because it is very, and and then but then there's the also thing of like you're pretty sure that next gig is coming in or payday is coming in, but you're not absolutely sure. Like, you never know. Like, and like I said, when I went through this gap a couple years ago, like, it gets really spooky. It is a weird it's a weird time. I have a couple friends who are like WGA screenwriters and some people who, I mean, I remember a time where I was just trying to get a movie made, my first solo movie once I moved out here. I was just trying to get something going, and they were writing for some shows, and they were doing some stuff, and they're producers on TV shows and stuff, and they were just cashing paychecks, just working, 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 and the weird thing that's happened is that our two diametrically opposed kind of career trajectories have just started doing this, and they've started the jobs just don't show up for them anymore. They have to hunt for them because there's less of them. um, I used to know a bunch of people that worked in the multicam sitcom zone of entertainment, and that thing is just, that little subdivision is just cratered. I mean, that's just, there used to be like 85 shows going on at any given time or something like that, and it's like there's like nothing. Um, so so weirdly, like our situations have gotten closer than they were 15 years ago. And sadly, because that is just the case. Mike, you're obviously not an LA based creative, so you're not dependent on the studio system. I'm independent, so I'm actually not really based on independent on the studio system either. So um, uh, it's just like I was just talking with someone recently, and we were saying, like, everyone I know who like what you're doing, Brian, like everyone I know who is taking a step back and reevaluating how to attack things and changing up their approach, those people are working and doing things. The people I know, or the people we know that haven't been able to adjust, just most of them, they're not working. They're just, they're back to waiting for the phone to ring again or the email to bing or whatever it is, at this point, their text to light up, um, their LinkedIn. Yeah, it's just a different time, and it's just a time where like we've had to adapt. I mean, the film business was what it was for 100 years. Of course, it's going to change eventually. It's just I mean, nothing doesn't change. It's just, um, technology changes it, advances technology, and then culture and stuff too. I mean, I don't think the movie going culture. I don't know how much longer it's got. I just don't know. I don't know, like you're saying, like TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that. The amount of people in our culture, I'll just say that I think just want to see people's mouths move and make noise is terrifying, as opposed to having a story and characters and the people that just want like visual stimulation and some kind of auditory experience and are totally satisfied with that is really depressing, but also and then also there is I until recently I really wasn't aware how much a large percentage of the United States hates California or has been taught to hate California or has been taught to resent California. And within that thing, definitely Hollywood and entertainment. Just I never thought about the fact that there's people that just don't watch movies because they hate everybody who works in Hollywood because they think they're all liberals and they're all, whatever, drinking baby blood or whatever it is we do this week. Um, uh, but that's, I mean, I think that's a more recent thing, but that is really a thing. Like there's a religious thing on the rise as well that seems to not view. Yeah, I mean, I think that religion thing's always been there through the history of Hollywood, through horror films and protesting Lugosi movies and everything, obviously. But that fundamentalist kind of thing is also like a substantially growing entity at the moment that really is not in lockstep with what Hollywood produces. They just think it's all smut. They think it's all whatever. So yeah, there's some adversaries lined up against
I think,
trying to make a living making feature length movies.
we've always had that. I mean, the Father Conklin things. I mean,
Yeah.
that's, that element has been there. I think there's COVID, that the pandemic era really, regardless of I think there's a lot of things attacking, but COVID really hit this industry hard for a couple of reasons. One, just the technology actually began this. Forget COVID for a second. Netflix learned how to taught people that they could stay home and stream
Hmm.
their movie. They don't need to go to a theater and pay $20 or whatever it is. So people learn that they don't have to go anywhere, and then COVID ramped that up 100-fold, right? So now people can't go see movies. So all the studios jumped in on that model, the streaming model, without the economic model to back it in the way that they were able to get money before, right? So that movie, go to the box office, people buy tickets and they go see the movie and they make a bunch of money. Wait 6 months, it goes to home video. People maybe buy VHS or rent it. That was the model, and it gave everybody enough revenue for those contracts for that. Then COVID comes along, and all the studios jump onto the streaming thing because they're like, "Why are we sending our stuff to Netflix? We'll have our own Disney Plus and Warner and blah blah blah." Except they didn't account for the fact that their model was based on subscriber numbers, not viewership numbers, per movie. So suddenly all these big contracts they had to showrunners and movie stars and things weren't going to work anymore. So while they're feeding a line of BS to their investors, they weren't making the money. So COVID comes along, puts us all out of work for a while. They go to their libraries, they start doing things, and then they've got all these expensive contracts, and then the strikes hit us.
Yeah.
So I don't know that a lot of people out in the world know how hard those strikes hit this industry, the blue collar people. Um, uh, to them, they turn on the TV, there's still TV on, there's still movies
Yeah.
playing. It's like, what's the big? They didn't see it. There are still people paying off debt from that era, from COVID and the strikes. People went out of, lost their homes because of this. Um, this was devastating, and what it did, it allowed the studios to get rid of those expensive contracts and reset themselves. Um, and now there's they're making less content. They're making fewer movies. They're not making them in the United States. They're making them mostly in Europe. So people here still have fewer jobs than they did. So this whole model is just changing completely. Plus, on top of that, then you've got, like I said, TikTok and YouTube. People, the audience that they've always striven for, that younger audience, are scrolling. They are still watching 2 hours of content, but not a full narrative anymore. They're
Yeah.
watching, 30 seconds at a time, or a YouTube podcast, like
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not going to sit down and go to a movie theater and pay $20 and watch 2 hours of this, whatever movie you're
Yeah.
making, and just everything's disrupted,
Yeah.
and the new creators are going to be the ones who can adapt to that model. Well, we've got people sitting at, like, all they ever did was operate a camera. That's the task they could do, or whatever task it was. Like, if they're not a creator, if they're not thinking bigger and storytellers the way I think we all are, or try to be, those button pushers are going to be sitting at home, like you said, waiting for the phone to ring, and it's never going to ring.
I mean,
And that's,
you've allowed the technology, you've allowed yourself to make yourself vulnerable to the technology at that point, I think. Yeah.
yeah, there's
To
just a lot
replace
of
you. Yeah.
forces hitting us all at once. And
Yeah.
most of us weren't ready for it. Only a few people, I think, in general, are going to be able to adapt to it.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens to the rest of them. I know a lot of people, I just don't know what they're doing
Yeah.
for a living anymore, or what they're going to do. I don't know.
Um,
But it's, anyway.
yeah. Yeah. Um, so, so Brian, we got your kind of take on what would your advice be to somebody trying to get into just any kind of creative thing now would be to think twice about traditional filmmaking and think more outside the box of, okay, well, where else can I channel talent into and see it. Um, Mike, like what's your like you meet people who want to like make a I mean you do the conventions I know and all the time and stuff. Like you meet people who are like, yeah, I'm trying to get in there and do a thing or something like that. Like what's your advice? I mean, what do you tell people when they're like, hey, I want to do kind of what you do. What's your take?
Well, I see fewer and fewer indie filmmakers anymore.
Hmm.
We used to make the joke guys at conventions, but I'm seeing fewer and fewer like do-it-yourself DIY filmmakers anymore. I can't think of half a dozen off the top of my head that aren't still. I mean, J.R. Bookwater, who was one of our early adopters, he just made his first film again. First film again. He just made his first film, and I don't know how long. And that's got a lot of his old compadres. I'm seeing a lot of us coming back. I'm seeing a
Hmm.
lot of act people, but I'm not seeing a lot. When uh, I taught at Pittsburgh Filmmakers for 8 or 9 years, and just about anyone who went out there after they graduated wound up as PAs or something like that. Most of my students came back. I still see them around, which was a lot. I never had any desire to go to LA because I could fail here for cheap. So, and I couldn't afford to eat and fail out there. Here, I can do that. I don't know what to tell anybody. It's always been a crapshoot. And if I had the best advice, you wouldn't have me on this podcast because you wouldn't be able to afford me, right? And if you had advice, well, uh, at this point, do what makes you happy and see if you can find an audience for it. Because none of us are going to be Basquiat, and no one's going to walk up to us, "Hey, I like that thing. Here's $1 million." Those people are buying islands now and small children to fuck. So I don't, they're spending their money elsewhere. Uh, so I don't know. I've been lucky enough that I've gotten to know cool people over the years. Of course, most of them are dying, so now I'm caretaker of William Richards' body of work. For instance, I just started doing some proofreading work for Encyclopocalypse, which has a lot of great writers there. So I've always been lucky enough to find good people around me. Yeah, Amy and I inspire each other. We try to have we try to still inspire others. But I don't have any fucking advice. No one should ever listen.
Um,
So,
I
do
mean,
what makes you happy.
yeah. I mean, my thing is like advice is, I would value your advice, Mike, and yours, Brian. You guys have been doing this long enough, but I usually tell people, I say, like, if they ask me, what's your advice? I say, don't listen to other people's advice. Because first of all, it mostly comes with their own bias, right? Um, Second of all, half the people that you ask about are they don't want to give you good advice because they don't want you to become their competition. I mean, that's the basic thing you learn in art school is that like your illustration teacher's not teaching you everything because he doesn't want you to graduate and take his work away. But also my main thing is I don't know any two people who have if they've reached some level of success who've done it the same way. It just does. There's no, maybe in the 1930s, if you went to the right,
That's right.
coffee shops, you might, and sat in the right bar stools, the agents might find you and cast you, and but like that shit just doesn't, that, and half of that I don't think was even true anyway. I think that was all like apocryphal. So anyway,
Can I share something real fast?
go for it, man.
So this book, I'm not gonna keep pushing this book. I'm not trying to get anybody to buy it. That's not why I'm building.
We'll put a link at the end. Fine.
No, 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 I don't want you to. That's the whole point. The
I want
reason I'm bringing
10%.
this, sure. The reason 10% of zero is so the whole
Zero.
the reason I'm bringing this up is because what this book is for anybody who hasn't read it, it's goes through every job on a set and it goes through their typical day. It was the book I wish I would have read before I moved to Los Angeles. It was what a typical movie set is like. It's sort of like an internship in a book. And I hadn't seen anything like this. Like I looked through everything and they were making me angry because they weren't really telling me what I needed to do, like literally, like tangibly, like what do I need to buy? What do I need to have? Where do I go? Da da da. Da. And that's what I wrote. So the point is, I didn't write this right away. I hesitated a lot because I was like, who wants to hear from me? I was in my 20s. In my mid 20s, I relatively just started. It's like they want to hear from the expert. They want to hear from the guy who's been around for 50 years. And I really sat and thought about it. I thought, no, actually, I am the person to write this because the guy who's been in there 50 years is jaded. And when he started, it was different, like you just said. Like it
Yeah.
didn't, they need to hear from the guy who just started. Like, what is it like now? So that's what this became. Um, like I said, now I don't know exactly what I would tell somebody. I don't know how I would update this to reflect where we are today. I'd probably do something more like Mike, like stay home, be a creator, um, make your own things. I, I think there's a lot that it's one thing to create something because we all have our movie ideas. We all have whatever the thing is we want to do, whether it's a magazine, a comic book or something. But where it really matters and the things I don't feel like I don't know that film schools teach it. I don't know is distribution. Because what we want to really do when you hear somebody say, I want to be a writer, now what they're actually saying is, I want to be a paid writer. I want to make a living doing this thing. And anybody can be a writer, anybody can be a director, anybody can make a movie. Can you sell it and make a living doing that thing? And I think that's the hard part. So where do you take that screenplay? Where do you take that finished movie? Where do you take that comic book? Where do you take this, your immersive project that you're doing? Or if you want to do a podcast, where do you put it that everybody's going to see it? And I think that's, if I had any advice, I'd tell people to study that. Figure out what it is you're passionate about, like Mike said. Do what makes you happy, but really sit down and study the market and figure out there's, when we all grew up, there were three networks and PBS, right? And then the movie theater. Now, somebody tells me to watch a show, I'm like, where do I,
Yeah.
what streaming service? Like, there's 100
It's
of
on
them, right? And
Zigboard. Like what? What?
right, what is that? Do I even subscribe to that? I don't know.
What?
So, in one respect, it's easier for everybody to get their stuff out there.
Yeah.
Way easier. We had cable access, I think, was the thing. That's what
Mhm.
MST3K did. We were doing that stuff in the basement. We were making. We just didn't think it
Yeah.
far enough ahead to like put it on cable access like the way those guys did, and turned a show out of it, right? But now YouTube is sitting there,
YouTube is cable access. It is actually like, yeah, that's true. So,
so,
yeah.
but there's a bazillion people on
Yeah.
TikTok and YouTube and whatever other thing. So where do you put your thing that it's going to get you seen and money? Because
Yeah.
you want to do this as a living, right? You don't want this to be
Yeah.
your side thing.
Or you at least, yeah, I mean that's the end goal, but at least you want to feel like I mean I think the other side of distribution or publishing is that you want other people to be able to access the thing that you've
Hmm.
created too. I mean, getting paid is great, but I mean you also, I mean you're doing something, you're putting something that's inside you out there, and the one of the gratifying things is for other people, eyes and ears to get it. And that, I mean that is distribution and publishing as well. I mean that's the two things that I'm trying to do. My first film, I mean I didn't, I went through a small distributor and I didn't realize like you know you're, he was like, no, it's going to be available in Walmart and Barnes and Nobles and for order. You know, anybody can order it anywhere. And the thing you realize is like if nobody knows it's out there, it doesn't matter if it's available everywhere because no one, you know, so that's the, you know, um,
That's why marketing costs $20 million or
yeah,
more
yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
a Hollywood movie.
To convince enough people that this is something they need to watch, read, listen, whatever. Uh, um, uh, yeah. So but I mean, my thing is like, I wish, you know, I sort of just took up shooting my own films a couple years ago. I worked for 15 years, just I mean shooting maybe B-roll and whatever, you know, or B-cam and stuff. But you know, I eventually got to the point where it's just one more thing. I was like, you know, if I can do this myself halfway decent as much as my DPs, it's one less the person I have to coordinate with, one less, thing. Um, and that's grown into like kind of a core part of how I do films now is like thinking about the story I want to tell, but also thinking about the visual way I want to tell it too. Now something clicked when that happened, and I was 47 or 8 when I made that choice to do that. And the benefit I had then learning how to do that as opposed to when I was trying to learn how to draw and do comics and or make films earlier in my career is that I was able to go to YouTube University. Yeah, I could just watch like 6,000, and I did like every night, just watch hours of stuff on YouTube, about like, this is how ND works, this is how ISO works, this is how all this stuff. The we never lived in, people have said this, we never lived in a time where like more information is readily available, and yet so many people are purposely ignorant. Like you have to try to actually not be
To
able to
know, yeah,
learn something at this point. I mean, whether or not you can totally
right.
trust whatever you see online or whatever like that is a different matter.
I just fixed my sink today. My faucet
Yeah,
was like
yeah.
not working, and I went through it. I tried myself, and it wasn't working. So I went to YouTube and I typed it,
There you
and
go.
it's like, bam, there was exactly what I
Except
needed to know.
there's a
It's
tutorial,
crazy.
yeah. And
Kids
for
have no idea
someone,
how easy they have it.
oh no, and for
It's
someone
amazing.
creative like us three, I think all of us learn better visually than reading
Yeah,
directions or something like that. So like if I can watch
totally.
someone do something like that, I've actually replaced the drain in my sink from watching YouTube. Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
uh, if I can watch someone do it, I can usually repeat that thing, or I can scroll
right.
back and see how'd they do that. Yeah. So exactly. So
Exactly.
it's an amazing time we live in. It's just a shame that
It's it willful
where
willful ignorance
yeah.
is around us.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. So that's advice to new filmmakers. That I mean, we've kind of covered, what my goals for this thing, and where we're at. We are just about an hour, so that's a pretty good session. Um, uh, Mike, go ahead. Brian has obviously plugged his book and a few of his kind of
It
things.
wasn't about that.
No, but
They
that's
stopped
fine.
printing it.
That's fine.
It's on Kindle or something. I don't know.
Okay, good deal, good deal.
It may not even be applicable anymore. I don't know.
And Brian, you're on the socials. You're on Facebook at least. I know that. Are you on
Instagram.
Insta?
I was told. So one of the shoots I did last year was as I was trying to reinvent myself was for a PR company, and she had some advice. She said redo your website. She told me how to redo that, and she said get on Instagram.
Yeah.
do more on Instagram. That's where everybody is. Da 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 da. So,
Yeah.
and it's just put up stuff, just to remind people you're there. Give them your. In fact, I'm shooting a music video, directing and
Oh,
shooting a music video. We actually had our first shoot day last Saturday, and it was through social media.
there you go.
She had
Yeah.
she had seen my Instagram photo, just photos really, just
Yeah.
my aesthetic, and she liked what I did, and we talked, and so I'm now doing her music video.
There
So
you go. So,
it's little things like that can make a difference.
okay.
So
So you're on you're the Institute. What are you're on as something you're not on as Brian though. You have a different handle on Insta.
I think it's BJ Dzyak. That's my
Okay.
normal like
Okay.
username or
There you go.
something.
Okay. Cool.
Something like that. Yeah.
Mike, what like pimp some stuff for us.
All right, I'm working basically for two different companies right now. I'm working for us, and I'm working for Encyclopocalypse Press. Let's get the ring out of there. There's the we. This company has been doing some great stuff in indie publishing, but we've been concentrating on uh, novelizations. So we've been doing Spider Baby has one, Forbidden Zone for God's sake has
Oh,
one. I'm
cool.
working on a couple right now. Really cool. They are also they're fans of mine because they were crazy enough to put out. I wrote a straight western. It was supposed to have vampires in it. Doesn't. This was my COVID project. It was a straight historical. But if you want to find out more about me, happycloudpictures.net, because we lost the .com 1,000 years ago. I'm not paying 50 grand for it, so screw you. But this is everything that we've done for the past. This is how we've stayed sane for 25 years. So
Here we go.
we're keeping our heads down, pretending that what we do matters. That's if you do that, it matters. It helps you get through the day.
If it matters to you, then it does matter. I mean, quantifiably. So yeah. I'll put little links at the end of this that people can like check out and stuff like that. We'll type them out so everyone can see them. Uh I don't have much to promote. I'm just here doing this. I mean, like again, just trying to get something out there. I mean, I guess I'm merging into content creation now at this point from just straight filmmaking, but I guess I've always kind of done that. Uh Yeah, I'm kind of just in between stuff. My film Beast Inside just came out. For you can watch it for free on Tubi with limited commercial interruptions. So there you go. We're pretty proud of that one. Actually, it came out looking really nice. It's a good story I wrote. Great people worked on it. Great talent in front of behind the camera. End Times is also available on I think Amazon and Tubi. Killer X is available on Tubi. I think everything I own, everything I've made ever is available on Tubi. This awful thing I made called Stiff way back in like 2011 is on Tubi as well. It's not, I could have done better. I'm not saying everyone else did fine. I was, early in my career. It was my first talkie. So anyway, so you can all check that out, but that's mainly it. I'll have a link to my YouTube. I have some stuff going on there and everything like that. But guys, I just appreciate you guys coming on and just rapping. We just hung, just the state of things, and also my hope is just that someone randomly clicks on this and watches it and finds maybe one nugget that goes, oh, you know what, maybe that's something I could give a shot at, and maybe that helps folks and stuff. Because before the strikes, before pandemic, before everything, this was a tough business anyway already. This was like you try and talk to people you know getting to really be in a top tier kind of filmmaking position is like playing for the NBA. I mean, there's tons of people who don't make it, and so it's a privilege to even just be working within any kind of creative thing, because there's lots of people who try this stuff, and I think most of them, it's not even a talent thing. Most of them just don't have the initiative to continue on once, because everything fun you started at eventually stops being fun and it just becomes work, right? And that's when my experience, that's when most people bail. Whether it's doing a podcast, whether it's writing, whether it's whatever. So, it's interesting to talk to two gentlemen who have persevered over a couple decades at least through stubbornness or whatever, I guess. Like me, I'm just I like I said, one of my things was just like I was too stubborn to quit, and I also like Mike, I don't think I do anything else really that well. So this was it. I just had
Couldn't
to
even
figure
be
out a way to make this work. That was it. There was not a lot of other options.
There's a guy I work with. He's a sound guy. He just grew up out here, and and I told him my story. Basically it was I just decided to come out, and he said something to me which struck me as odd. He called me brave
Hmm.
when he talked. He goes, "You were brave for coming out." I thought about that. No, no, I wasn't brave at all. That wasn't bravery. Is knowing the danger you're going into and doing it anyway because of
Interesting.
some
Yeah.
greater. I was ignorant
Yeah.
to the
Naive.
realities.
You can say that. Yeah.
I was naively optimistic, but I didn't know
But
what
you
I
have
was
to be.
coming into.
Yeah.
And I think that there's value to knowing a lot, but there's also danger in knowing too much because you could like stop yourself or question, like, maybe I should do it this way or this way. Not knowing anything. I just drove my car out. I got in it. I called every number that I had
Yeah.
collected and made it work. It just in some ways I lucked into things. I also worked my ass off. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
people don't know the free things, the nights I shot with my hands in a changing bag or whatever. I mean, just a lot of the work that goes into just getting to that spot where you are traveling the world and people are calling you and I'm not picking up the phone. But um, to leave everyone on a note of hope, in this changing, tumultuous world, I think that, you know, this is really Francis Ford Coppola's democratization of filmmaking that he was striving for. I don't know that he saw it coming in quite this way. George Lucas pushing the video camera to be 24p was kind of this turning point where suddenly, you know, every kid can have a red or whatever,
Right.
have this, we just saw the story. Aerie is thinking of selling
Yeah.
because, you don't need to buy that top end camera anymore. You don't, you can have something that's way less expensive and still does the job that can be projected. So, um, now the world is really open to anybody who wants to come and not even come. They can make the movie where they are, and there's so many places to put it. And if it's really a top quality, and if you can market it well, get it out there, and people know it's there, then people with money will see that, and they'll probably be willing to invest in your next thing, and you'll get a bigger budget and better actors and better locations and it just that's that building stuff. But there's just so many more opportunities than we had when I was growing up. So I think it's a matter of just, not worrying about the cameras. Don't feel like you need to buy. Everybody has a camera. Go find a cameraman who
Yeah.
knows what he's doing, who
Yeah.
owns a camera, and worry about writing the story and telling the story. There's plenty of people who want to do the tasks. If you're the center, they want to work. They want to do your thing. So you worry about writing the story really well. And then people will jump on and help you, and because they want to push their own careers. And
If you're
and so
doing something interesting, I think if you find
yeah,
something just a little unique, it doesn't have to be 1,000% original, but if you write something with interesting characters, I find actors will be with cool thing, they're saying cool stuff, saying interesting stuff, actors will be interested that probably shouldn't be. Like I've gotten
I,
actors to do my films that have no business doing my films, but I got something to them and they liked the character and they're like, I would do this because I don't get to do this much. So there you go. And I think
I bet
that's
there's a
that's
guy I know
important.
he's a writer. He wrote a movie that I won't leave his name, but he wrote a big movie and stuff. But I always go to him for good advice, and he said he had an epiphany once. He sent a script out, and what he found out was that the actors he was sending his scripts out to weren't reading the whole script. They didn't know what the whole story was about. They flipped to their pages
Yeah.
only.
Yeah.
They want to know what their part was. If they had any good scenes, if they had good lines, they had like if you write a part that's really good for that actor, they may jump on your movie whether the rest of the movie's crap or not
They don't
because they
even know. Yeah.
want that they may not know. So that's really what you're obviously you
Yeah.
want a good story,
Yeah.
but the actors may not care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
reality. Sounds
It's
strange, but
yeah.
that's what
I do think I think so. I think maybe the three things are just like, let yourself be a little naive. Like assume you can do it. Just like whether you're starting to write a book or we're starting to maybe get into songwriting or something like that, just assume this is something you can do. And then figure out a way to get to the point where you know how to do it. Like, again, like all the resources are there. Um, you have to be ridiculously self-confident. Not arrogant, but self-confident. You have to have that in you, and you have to find it in you. or yeah, you're not going to. You're gonna, you'll find something more stable to do than this if you don't really believe that. So I think that's critical. And just and work hard, like try and be good. Like it doesn't just happen. You have to be willing to, like you said, like work, work for free, help friends out, do favor, do that kind of stuff. Because that's half the time that's when something clicks and that's when you get, an opportunity to pop up and stuff.
You don't know who you're going to meet,
Yeah,
honestly. Like it could be the PA. I got a
yeah,
job. I did a movie in Connecticut in the spring of one year and did it, came back home. Da, da, da. I got a call for another movie in Connecticut because the PA that I met on that first job recommended me for that second one.
there you
So
go.
suddenly
See,
I'm back in Connecticut. Like you
yeah.
don't be nice to
And,
everyone, absolutely everyone.
and don't be a dick. I'll
Don't be a
say that. Just
dick.
just be cool with everybody. Just it's not that hard. Really not that hard. It goes to not being arrogant kind of thing. Just yeah, be cool. Be as cool as you can because I know talented people that I don't want to work with because I don't want to have
Right?
to spend time with them, and that's just,
14 hour days are a long time to spend with people that
with
are
someone toxic
dicks.
or someone like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure, for sure. So there we go. That's our middle-aged white guy creative people advice for you guys listening, everybody. That's what you get. That's all we got. We are at an hour and 20 here, so I am gonna finish this one out. Brian and Mike, thank you very much for jumping on this. You're both good guys. I will list their contact stuff at the bottom so you can send them hate mail and whatever if you want, but or you could be smart and follow and check out the kind of cool stuff that they're both doing. So there we go. Everybody, I'm Jim Towns. Thanks very much for being part of this whole thing. And we'll kind of maybe see you next time for another episode of Write, Shoot, Release, Repeat.